Tonight's state of emergency in Southern California after another powerful earthquake 10 times stronger than the one just a day before.
Get under the table. Get under the table. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Heavy damage, fires, and power failures crippling towns, the terrifying moments forcing residents across multiple states to take cover. And now the increased threat of another big earthquake that could hit in the days ahead. The surprising and frightening science of what geologists call foreshocks. Breaking news, a huge explosion at a Florida shopping mall levels a restaurant and sends debris flying far and wide.
It looked like something from a horror movie.
The blast felt a mile away, at least 23 people injured. What we know about the cause. More than 2 weeks after his comments about working with segregationist senators, Joe Biden apologizes.
I'm sorry for any of the pain or misconception they may have caused anybody.
But will it quiet his critics? Fighting back on the eve of the big World Cup final, America's soccer stars on the criticism they've received and what they see as double standards in the game. And a private affair, the new royal photos out tonight that for many just aren't enough.
This is NBC Nightly News with Kate Snow.
Good evening. Continuous aftershocks are still shaking Southern California as we come on the air tonight after a massive 7.1 earthquake hit just outside the town of Ridgecrest. That's the same town at the epicenter of that 6.4 earthquake on Thursday. This quake substantially more powerful than that first one and felt as far away as Mexico. The governor of California has declared a state of emergency and thousands of residents are without clean water or power. And tonight, the entire region is on edge after a new warning. Thursday's quake, geologists now say, was what is known as a foreshock, a foreshadowing of last night's. And there's a chance last night's may be a preview of more to come. Our correspondents are covering every angle tonight. We begin with Miguel Almaguer in Ridgecrest. Miguel, good evening.
Kate, good evening. That earthquake rumbled through here. It was powerful. This is what it did to the earth. We're out in the desert. Imagine what it felt like in nearby cities.
Get under the table. Get under the table. Oh, my God.
It struck with fury at 8:19 p.m.
Oh, the front door came open. That's okay. It's okay. Just hold on.
This the moment of impact near the epicenter in Ridgecrest.
This is bad.
Please evacuate the store!
The powerful 7.1 earthquake sending terrified customers searching once again for cover.
Everybody okay?
Shockwaves of fear rippling across Southern California.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The quake felt as far away as L.A., Vegas, Phoenix, even Sacramento.
This is a very strong earthquake.
The terror playing out on live TV.
We're experiencing very strong shaking. I think we need to get under the desk.
At the Dodgers game, a stunned crowd. They played on.
I think we got another earthquake.
Yep, we definitely have an earthquake going on.
What began as violent jolting lasted nearly 30 seconds. Fire sparked in Ridgecrest while power went out. Residents too afraid to sleep inside.
It's really scary to be in the house.
Incredibly, no one was killed.
Oh my gosh, there's a rock slide.
Roads and highways blocked, buckled, and in shambles. At the East Ridge Market, the jolt captured on camera.
For many, it's still too early to estimate the damage. The owner of this store, who has no earthquake insurance, estimates it tops about $100,000. This is what every aisle looks like. The cleanup could take days, even weeks.
With the 7.1 registering as the largest quake in 2 decades for the region, what seemed like the main event Thursday was just a foreshock. Friday's jolt 10 times stronger. Tonight, with fault lines growing, so is the fear.
To give you some perspective, this shows the power and strength of that jolt. We're out in the Mojave Desert here, and the ground shifted several feet. Imagine had this happened in downtown Los Angeles under a building. That was a disaster that was averted. There have been 2,500 aftershocks so far. Kate?
That would have been devastating. Miguel, thank you. Throughout the affected area, many residents are without food and water, as we said tonight, and some are afraid to go back into their homes. Our Molly Hunter was near the epicenter when the quake hit last night. She spent the day in a town of just 1,700 people hit hard by this quake.
Residents in the small town of Trona still stunned and now taking a closer look at the damage.
It's still so shocking.
Horrible. It was horrible.
Many homes unlivable. Angelica Hernandez overwhelmed by the damage, but she feared more for her young daughter.
I didn't know she was hurt. That was more going through my head.
Tonight, residents and businesses are without water and power. Roger Sandoval owns the Trona Shell Station.
This thing may put me out of business.
For now, business for Sandoval is busier than usual. Gas customers drawn by fresh homemade burritos. Jessica Schultz, mother of 3, came to stock up on supplies.
We all just grabbed each other and fell to the ground and just stayed there until it was done and over.
Outside of the Shell, crews are still assessing cracked roads, too many to count right now. Doug Parlett has lived in Trona for 55 years.
I thought I was having a heart attack. I was going like this.
And that same fear spread through Ridgecrest last night.
Worst thing you want to do is run to a building, run around, just stop. We were outside. We were fine.
When the quake hit, I grabbed my cell phone.
This is the scene right after the 7.1 magnitude earthquake. Look, there's a house right there. You see that thick black smoke. Firefighters right now working to put that out. Everything's gone.
Yeah.
And that quake woke us up last night. It was incredibly powerful, incredibly frightening. We came directly here. You saw that house on fire. This is what it looks like today. Totally burnt out. We know the owner survived, but she lost everything. Kate?
Molly Hunter, thank you. Now to the other breaking news we're following tonight. A huge explosion at a shopping mall in South Florida. At least 23 people were injured. Morgan Chesky is in Plantation, Florida tonight. Morgan, good evening to you.
Yeah, Kate, good evening. When this blast happened this morning, it was felt by nearly a mile away, showering this entire area with debris, hurling pieces as big as this for more than a football field. And the big question tonight, what set off this massive blast? In South Florida, the damage undeniable, the scene unbelievable. A shopping center nearly ripped apart by a massive explosion.
It looked like something from a horror movie.
Donovan Daly walked outside to find a parking lot turned debris field, the sky above filling with smoke.
The entire building shook. Yeah, it was really, really crazy.
The blast so powerful, it was caught on camera at a home more than a mile away. Right now, I'm a good 50 to 60 yards away from where this explosion took place, and you can see pieces of the roof covering an entire stretch of road. Firefighters found ruptured gas lines in the rubble, but still aren't sure if they're to blame. Some of the worst damage centered around LA Fitness, where the Scaniers
noise and windows cracked and shattered everywhere. Parents were getting their kids and just trying to get up out of there.
By the time rescuers swept the chaotic scene, crews counted 23 people injured, but said no one was killed in the initial blast.
The injuries are not as severe as we would have thought they would be, so we're very thankful for that.
Tonight, federal investigators are on scene, examining every piece of evidence in hopes of tracking down the cause. And tonight, of those 23 people injured, we have learned 12 have already been released from the hospital. Meanwhile, the cause of this blast remains under investigation. Kate?
That's some good news, Morgan. Thank you. And now to politics and the apology today from former Vice President Joe Biden. The issue, his controversial comments more than 2 weeks ago now about working with 2 Southern segregationist senators decades ago. Hans Nichols has more on what Biden had to say.
Following weeks of criticism, Joe Biden today said he regretted his controversial comments about working with segregationists during his time as a senator.
I regret it. And I'm sorry for any of the pain or misconception they may have caused anybody.
The course correction for Biden coming after Senator Kamala Harris criticized him for opposing the kind of school busing that benefited her.
I was bused to my elementary school.
Today, Harris continued to focus on school segregation without mentioning Biden by name.
But there's a lot to be shameful about. I mean, as you know, most recently, we have talked about America's segregated schools.
The Democratic dust-up coming as President Donald Trump took another shot at Biden today, tweeting the former vice president won't win in 2020. Joe Biden is a reclamation project, the president said. Some things are just not salvageable. Trump's broadsides against Biden are part of a 1-2 political punch, criticizing Obama as a way to wound Biden.
I call it the Obama
Biden mess.
But Biden is celebrating his service to President Obama as proof of his progressive values on race.
When I talk about the Obama years, my opponents talk about his ancient history. When others talk about something I said in the 70s, they talk about it like yesterday.
Biden made his comments in South Carolina, where African Americans will likely make up a majority of voters in the Democrats' first in the South primary. Kate?
Hans Nichols with the president in New Jersey. New details tonight on a plane forced to make an emergency landing in Boston because of a fire on board. Authorities now believe they know how it started with a phone charger. Kristen Dahlgren has more on a growing threat inside what a lot of us carry on board.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
The pilot of a Virgin Atlantic plane with 217 passengers on board Thursday declaring an emergency.
We have smoke in the cabin.
Authorities say this is now all that is left of the external phone charger that sparked the fire. The spare lithium battery igniting a seat cushion, forcing the flight, which was supposed to go from New York's JFK to London, to land in Boston instead. Massachusetts State Police and Virgin Airlines are now investigating. But experts say the danger from spare lithium batteries on planes is only getting worse.
It's one of the very few parts of aviation that actually the risk is increasing. People bring more of these lithium batteries on, they get damaged, they get hot, and we have these onboard fires.
Last July, this external charger caught fire on a Ryanair flight. The FAA reports 258 incidents involving the batteries since 1991. 49 of those happened just last year. Right now, the FAA bans spare lithium batteries, e-cigarettes, and vaping devices from checked bags. Passengers must carry them on. The agency saying the cabin crew and passengers can control overheating or a fire.
If you notice your device getting hot to the touch, you need to let a flight attendant know.
Experts say the batteries are now in so many devices, it would be virtually impossible to ban them altogether. But watch them in between seat cushions and never carry damaged batteries on board. The FAA saying, when in doubt, leave it out. Now hoping passengers are paying attention. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, New York.
Tomorrow in France, the final showdown in the Women's World Cup, the U.S. against a tough team from the Netherlands. And while the Americans had their eyes on the prize today, they were also in fighting mode for other reasons. NBC's Kelly Kobiella reports.
Tonight, the U.S. women's soccer team is on the verge of another history-making match. It's their third straight World Cup final tomorrow, facing newcomers, the Netherlands. After a dramatic battle against England, stars Megan Rapinoe and Rose Lavelle, both with minor hamstring injuries, say they're ready to play. The U.S. team are huge favorites. They've dominated the World Cup, but not without controversy, starting with the way they celebrate.
I feel that there is some sort of double standard.
Critics then went after co-captain Megan Rapinoe for her silent protest during the national anthem. Players are also unhappy about unequal pay and sharing the spotlight with the U.S. men's team taking on Mexico.
This is the World Cup final. This is like cancel everything day.
For the thousands of fans, though, it's the women's game they've been dreaming of for months.
They're a great example of unity. They always work together, and it's just a great example for those of us who want to continue in soccer.
These streets are filled with soccer fans tonight. The women expected to play in front of a sold-out crowd of 60,000, and this time it's winner take all. Kate?
Kelly Kobiella cannot wait for that game. Still ahead tonight, more on that powerful California earthquake and what the science now tells us about the likelihood of another big quake.
When life throws type 2 diabetes your way, why wait? Hit back now. Farxiga, along with diet and exercise, helps lower A1C in adults with type 2 diabetes. And when taken with metformin XR, it may lower A1C up to 2.1 points.
Do not take if allergic to Farxiga. Symptoms of a serious allergic reaction include rash, swelling, difficulty breathing or swallowing. Stop taking and seek medical help right away. Tell your doctor right away if you have red color in urine, or pain while you urinate, or a genital area infection, since a rare but serious genital infection may be life-threatening. Do not take Farxiga if you have severe